April the 7th, 2016. Sun's come out. Getting some red sun shallots in today. So dug a nice trench. It's had fertiliser in it all over the winter, which was basic animal waste dug into this rich clay soil, and planting them a little bit wider apart than it says, and give them plenty of sunshine, basically, hopefully, along this trench here. Here we have, I'm basically just troweling and covering them not too deeply, actually, these shallots here. As I say, we've already worked in some compost. I've already worked in some over the winter, dug it in. I'm just going along my line there, and they've marked, of course, where they're being planted. Lots of showers in April, but this is the time to get these planted. Not ever grown these down here before, so we'll have to see how they get on in this clay soil. As you can see, it's grown very well. This site down the bottom catches a lot of the sunshine, and some people do tend to try some of their rhubarb now while it's still very tender. This rhubarb here particularly started growing very early, and also some more rhubarb here, which is next to my compost heap. The compost heap's done very well. It's taken about 3 years, and so I did put some accelerator into it, and I've put some of the old onions that went to seed in here, and trying to keep old potatoes or anything diseased away from it, and just let it catch some sunshine warmth here, the compost. Won't be using this until next year, when hopefully it's be able to just take off the a layer that we need to dig in. I do let some wild things grow at the back of this plot, for instance nettles, to let some wildlife such as butterflies, etc., and other creatures that would live off the nettle leaves. And there's some old dog roses here, plenty of blackberries, and I've also spread blackberries from my own garden here, wild ones, to try and get some sort of strength into the population. And they're very, very thorny, the local blackberries around here, and those my garden were as well, so I've sort of mixed them in. I sort of hope that as the birds eat the blackberries, that they may spread the seed around a lot around this old hedgerow borderline. I've also put some nesting boxes in. There's 3, one for a robin at the end, and even if they're just used as a shelter by the birds in the storms, I'd be happy for that. These ones more suitable for blue tits or warblers, or the smaller type of finch type birds. An old black currant plant I found right at the back of this plot. May well have been here since, well, even before the Second World War. I do occasionally find old coins here which seem to be dated around 1945 or before that, when I dig up. And this black currant, I rescued it from basically being strangled by weeds, and this is the best it's been so far, and I'll try and keep it fairly weed free. These are the last sort of stragglers of some old raspberry canes that I found at the back. They'd actually really spread like wildfire, and I lifted up about, I don't know, it must have been 100 at the back of this plot along it, and I put them to the front of the plot, fed them, and because I've kept them fairly weed free, they've actually produced quite a few raspberries from them. And there's some old daffodil bulbs left lying around. I dug up a lot of the old ones at the bottom of this plot. They're past the best. I've left a few in just for a bit of a spring show. The gauge plums are now in full blossom, and the idea is to keep the pesky ants off. I have discovered, some people have said to me, that coffee grounds are good for that, and also mixtures of various chemicals such as borax, that's boracic acid, vinegar, again because the ants make an acid and the vinegar can disrupt it. Other people have mentioned tea tree oil, peppermint oil, and to make a paste or a mix. I'd rather use that than use traditional insecticides, because don't forget you've got pollinators. I've found lots of ladybirds, I wouldn't say a plague, but plenty of ladybirds around, which have overwintered around on the plot, and I don't really want to attack the ladybirds because they did a superb job in killing a lot of black fly pests. I had a lot of problems on my beans, on my broad beans. They were really being attacked down here. Basically I sort of used a weak detergent spray and blasted them off, or even just like crushed them all between my fingers, and there was like, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of them, I would say, last year. Strawberries do very well on clay soils, despite the fact it can set as hard as concrete. You have to pick your times when you dig it. If it's been raining, you can literally lift almost sort of a couple of stones weight just within a couple of spadefuls because it's so heavy. But the good thing is it grows trees, herbs, anything to do with berries, strawberries, gooseberries, tayberries, loganberries, that sort of thing, even goji berries I'm trying. They seem to, and red currants, black currants. Anything sort of berryfied grows very well down here, and strawberries absolutely love this type of soil. Of course, these have been fed with a fairly high, well, it's fairly high potassium liquid fertilizer, and I've weeded them. I try and keep the weeds away. As I was saying about berries, here we have some tayberries, and we're only in the first week of April, and they're already. I even pruned these over the winter, and they're already probably needing some canes to support them. They grow so well. And other things such as joster berries and loganberries as well. Luckily, this is one tree I planted from my garden. I thought I'd lost it, but it's a fruit tree. It seems to, some others just didn't survive transplanting. They were not really very vigorous in my garden, but this one seems to have taken, I believe it's an apple tree. Did an experiment with some of these string beans. Dug it over underneath, and I basically just opened some of the pods from last year. And I've just planted them straight away down the bottom. I've got ripped away some of the old string, and let's see if they come back again this year. Red champagne rhubarb seems less vigorous than the variety I have down here, which was here when I first came here. These are some of the transplanted raspberry canes that I found at the bottom of the plot when I first took it on, and I've probably spread around 100 canes, maybe even more. It had a triple graft on it, or triple graft as some people might say. When I'd had it in the garden, it was just dying basically. It was just been overcrowded. Brought it down here, and I think 2 of the grafts have taken. I sprayed around the trees with my own homemade garlic to get rid of sort of like moss and pests. And it looks like I staked this one, but this old pear tree, which has got a dwarf rootstock, seems to be happy down here on the allotment. This year I thought I'd try some silver moon onion sets, planted 4 to 6 inches apart. Just planted with the necks showing, and according to my instructions, silver moon should be ready in July or June even. I've left it till April to plant them, so probably mine will be ready in July or August. And you get 50 sets, and I've got them spaced, I'd say closer, maybe 5 inches apart rather than the 6. Here we have the silver moon onions, all ready to be covered, and you're supposed to just keep the necks covered on these ones. And the necks of these onions here along here, just got to work on covering them correctly. Always nice to hear the wildlife here. Listen to that wren singing. Having sown the onions and shallots, I thought I'd have a go at putting some radish in. These need to be about 2 centimetres deep, sown direct. So I'll see how I get on with the summer crunch radish. The drill has been prepared along this length here, and I'll be able to put the seeds in directly, sown thinly directly here. Of course, if you do dig deep at the allotment, especially during the winter months when the soil's a bit fallow and you can see a bit better, you might find a few things. You just never know what will turn up. After it rained very heavily one day, dug a little bit deeper to put some compost in, I found this. 1945. It's a florin. Probably been down there since then. Gave it a bit of a clean with some brown sauce. Left it to soak, had a look, and it's florin. So there you go. Never know what you can find.